everybody. Say hi. Say hi, everybody. Of course, I was getting ready to go live, and he needed to be up here. Thank you, sis. Hello, from Ryder. He's just hanging out. Hey, Tony. Hope things are going well for you over there in your neck of the woods. Mr. Ryder here is something else. He's a good dog. A good dog. Him a good dog, huh? And he can sleep anywhere, anytime. Doesn't matter the noise or anything. He just goes to sleep. Huh? What he's doing now? He's going to sleep. Him to going to sleep. He sleeps with his eyes open sometimes. Most of the time. It's kind of creepy. But my oldest son does that too. Used to freak me out when I would look at him and oh, you're going to St. Mary's, okay? Okay. Well, I'm praying for you a safe trip and a safe return home. And prayers for your husband and his family in this time of grief. He's watching over you. Anyways, let's go ahead and get it started. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Please be mindful in the comments, in the chat. Not everybody here is a recovering alcoholic or an alcoholic to begin with. So just don't be harassing each other or passing judgment. This is an actual meeting, so, be kind. But anyways, we are in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. I always put in the description what we're reading. What book, what story, what have you, and the page number, so you can keep along. Or if you're just here to listen, that's great. Just hit a like button, and that will let me know that it's reaching other people and helping others with alcoholism or addiction or whatever their issue may be. But like I said, not everybody here is an alcoholic or a recovering alcoholic or an addict or a recovering addict. They may just be here to support my channel or to learn how to cope with the change of an alcoholic in your family, whether it's them coming from alcohol or coming off of the alcohol or in it. This does help with those issues as well. It helped me to quit smoking and quit drinking, and yeah. But anyways, 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives were unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. You're going to a meeting tonight, though? Okay. Okay, good. 4, Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. Hey, Char, thank you for coming. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Oh, you want to get off for the night, but wanted to pop in for about 5 minutes. Oh, well, I appreciate that, Char. Thank you. Tradition 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 2. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose: to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprises, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards. Lily, you can drop your GoFundMe in the chat if you want. I forgot to do this too. This is the link if anybody wants to come up on the panel. You can just click that link. It'll take you to another window and you just go in as yourself. 12. Our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. I'm reading 11, not 12. Sorry. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. And we are on tradition 6. So Lily is going to drop a link in the chat. It is for the GoFundMe for her and her husband and their dog. They are having to move out of their apartment due to it flooding last week. The neighbor up above them, which is my neighbor, started a washing machine and it ran for nobody knows how long, and so it started flooding through my sister's ceiling, the light fixtures, and it destroyed a lot of stuff. and they found out that there is asbestos in the ceiling, and so they are going to be putting their stuff into pods this week. Well, tomorrow, and I think that the place is going to come and move their stuff into the pod, and it will be here, I think, here on the property. I'm not definite on that, but then anything else that's in the apartment that needs to be thrown out, we need to be able to um, haul off to the dump. But funds are strapped for all of those things, and so that's what I am doing for them, what I can with doing the GoFundMe, and also um, probably letting them stay here for a while till they can get their apartment back or a different place, whichever comes first. So I don't know if they're going to let them move back in there or not at this point, but we will know, and then I will update everybody here. So anyways, we're on tradition 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. The moment we saw that we had an answer for alcoholism, it was reasonable, or so it seemed at the time, for us to feel that we might have the answer to a lot of other things. The AA groups many thought could go into business might finance any enterprise, whatever, in the total field of alcoholism. In fact, we felt duty bound to throw the whole weight of the AA name behind any meritorious cause. Here are some of the things we dreamed. Hospital didn't like alcoholics, so we thought we'd build a hospital chain of our own. People need to be told that alcoholism was, so we'd educate the public, even rewrite school and medical textbooks. We'd gather up derelict from Skid Row, sort out those who could get well, and make it possible for the rest to earn their livelihood in a kind of quarantine confinement. Maybe these places would make large sums of money to carry on our other good work. We seriously thought of rewriting the laws of the land, and I lost my spot. And having it declared that alcoholics are sick people, no more would they be jailed. Judges would parole them in our custody. We'd spill AA into the dark regions of dope addiction and criminality. We'd form groups of depressive and paranoid folks. The deeper the neurosis, the better we'd like it. It stood to reason that if alcoholism could be licked, so could any problem. It occurred to us that we could take what we had into the factories and cause laborers in capitalism to love each other. Our uncompromising honesty might soon clean up politics with one arm around the shoulder of religion and the other around the shoulder of medicine. We'd resolve their differences. Having learned to live so happily, we'd show everybody else how. Why would why we thought our society of Alcoholics Anonymous might prove to be the spearhead of a new spiritual advance. We might transform the world. Yes, we of AA did dream those dreams. How natural that was. Since most alcoholics are bankrupt idealists, nearly every one of us had wished to do great good, perform great deeds, and embody great ideas or ideals. We are all perfectionists who, failing perfection, had gone to the other extreme and settled for the bottle and the blackout. Providence, through AA, has had brought us within reach of our highest expectations. So why shouldn't we share our way of life with everyone? Whereupon we tried AA hospitals. They all bogged down because you cannot put an AA group into business. Too many busybodies cook spoil the broth. AA groups had their fling at education, and when they began to publicly whoop up the merits of this or that brand, people became confused. Did AA fix drunks or was it an educational project? Was AA spiritual or was it medical? Was it a reform movement? In consternation, we saw ourselves getting married to all kinds of enterprises, some good and some not so good. Watching alcoholics committed willy-nilly to prison and or asylums, we began to cry. There ought to be a law. AA commenced to thump tables in legislative committee rooms and agitated for legal reform. That made good newspaper copy, but little else. We saw we'd soon be mired in politics. Even inside AA, we found the imperative to remove the AA name from clubs and 12-step houses. Hi, Tracy. These adventures implanted a deep-root conviction that in no circumstances could we endorse any related enterprise, no matter how good. We of Alcoholics Anonymous could not be all things to all men, nor should we try. Years ago, this principle of no endorsement was put to a vital test. Some of the great distilling companies proposed to go into the field of alcohol education. It would be a good thing, they believed, for the liquor trade to show a sense of public responsibility. They wanted to say that liquor should be enjoyed, not misused. That is awesome. That's awesome, Tracy. That's one way to help people for sure. In one of their trade associations, the question arose of just how this campaign should be handled. Yeah, that's for sure. Um, AA for me is a way that I know that there's still good out there, and seeing the hard work that other people do for others in this, you know, wildfire and heat waves to help those who are homeless and need the help of getting something to eat and getting some cold stuff to drink. And yeah, that's an awesome thing to do. The question arose of just how this campaign should be handled. Of course, they would use the resources of radio, press, and films to make their point. But what kind of person should head the job? The, immediately thought of Alcoholics Anonymous. If they could find a good public relations man in our ranks, why wouldn't he have why wouldn't he be ideal? He'd certainly know the problem. His connection with AA would be valuable because the fellowship stood high in public favor and hadn't an enemy in the world. Soon they'd spotted their man, and AA with the necessary experience. Straightway he appeared at New York's AA headquarters asking, "Is there anything in our tradition that suggests I shouldn't take a job like this one? The kind of education seemed good on me, or good to me, and in and is not too controversial, but your headquarters folks see any bugs in it." At first glance, it did look like a good thing. Then doubt crept in. The association wanted to use our members' full name in all its advertising. He was to be described both as its director of publicity and as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Of course, there couldn't be the slightest objection if such an association hired an AA member solely because of his public relations ability and his knowledge of alcoholism. But that wasn't the whole story. For in this case, not only was an AA member to break his anonymity at a public level, he was to link his name, Alcoholics Anonymous, to this particular educational project in the minds of millions. It would be bound to appear that AA was now backing education, liquor trade association style. The minute we saw this compromising fact for that it was, or for what it was, we asked the prospective publicity director how he felt about it. "Great guns," he said. "Of course, I can't take the job. The ink wouldn't be dry on the first ad before an awful shriek would go up from the dry camp. They'd be out with lanterns looking for an honest AA to plump for their brand of education. AA would land exactly in the middle of the West Dry controversy. Half the people in this country would think we'd signed up with the Dries. The other half would think we joined the Wets. What a mess." Nevertheless, we that's pointed out, "You still have a legal right to take this job." "I know that," he said, "but this is no time for legalities. Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life, and it comes first. I certainly won't be the guy to land AA in big time trouble, and this would really do it." Concerning endorsements, our friend had said it all. We saw as never before that we could not lend the AA name to any cause other than our own. I think I'm going to go on to number 7 is a little long. It's 4 pages. I got time. Tradition 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Self-supporting alcoholics. Who ever heard of such a thing? Yet we find that what we have to be. That's what we have to be. This principle is telling evidence of the profound change that AA has wrought in all of us. Everybody knows that active alcoholism screams that they have no troubles money can't cure. Always we've had our hands out. Time out of mind, we've been dependent upon somebody, usually money wise. When a society composed entirely of alcoholics says it's going to pay its bills, that's really news. Probably no AA tradition had the labor pains this one did. In early times, we were all broke. When we add to this the habitual supportation that people ought to give money to alcoholics trying to stay sober, it can be understood why we thought we deserved a pile of folding money. Excuse me. What great things AA would be able to do with it. But oddly enough, people who had money thought otherwise. They figured that it was high time we now sober paid our own way. So our fellowship stayed poor because it had to. There was another reason for our collective poverty. It was soon apparent that while alcoholics would spend lavishly on 12-step cases, they had a terrific aversion to dropping money into a meeting place hat for group purposes. We are astounded to find that we were as tight as the bark on a tree. So AA, the movement, started and stayed broke, while its individual members waxed possible. I don't know how to say that word. Thank you, Tracy. And thank you for what you do. Helping others is a wonderful thing. Alcoholics are certainly all or nothing people. Our reactions to money prove this. As AA emerged from its infancy into adolescence, we swung from the idea that we needed vast sums of money to the notion that AA shouldn't have any. On every lip were the words, "You can't mix AA and money. We shall have to separate the spiritual from the material." We took this violent new tack because here and there members had tried to make money out of their AA connections, and we feared we'd be exploited. Now and then, grateful benefactors had endowed clubhouses, and as a result, there was sometimes outside interference in our affairs. We had been presented with a hospital, and almost immediately the donor's son became its principal patient and would be manager. One AA group was given $5,000 to do with what it would. The hassle over that chunk of money played havoc for years, frightened by these complications. Some groups refused to have a cent in their treasuries. Despite these misgivings, we had to recognize the fact that AA had to function. Meeting places cost something. To save whole areas from turmoil, small offices had to be set up, telephones installed, and a few full-time secretaries hired. Over many protests, these things were accomplished. We saw that if they weren't, the man coming in the door wouldn't get a break. These simple services would require small sums of money, which we could and would pay ourselves. At last, the pendulum stopped swinging and pointed straight at Tradition 7 as it reads today. In this connection, Bill likes to tell the following pointed story. He explains that when Jack Alexander's Saturday Evening Post piece broke in 1941, thousands of frantic letters from distraught alcoholics and their families hit the Foundation letterbox in New York. Our office staff, Bill says, consisted of two people, one devoted secretary and myself. How could this landslide of appeal be met? We have to have some more full-time help. That was sure. So we asked the AA group for voluntary contributions. Would they send us $1 a member a year? Otherwise, this heartbreaking mail would have to go unanswered. To my surprise, the response of the group was slow. I got mighty sore about it. Looking at the avalanche of mail one morning at the office, I paced up and down, ranting how irresponsible and tightwad my fellow members were. Just then, an old acquaintance stuck a tousled and aching head in the door. He was our prize Slippy. I could see he had an awful hangover. Remembering some of my own, my heart filled with pity. I mentioned him to my inside cubicle and produced a $5 bill as my total income was $30 a week at the time. This was a fairly large donation. Lois really needed the money for groceries, but that didn't stop me. The intense relief of my friend's face warmed my heart. I felt especially virtuous, as I thought of all the ex-drunks who would even send the foundation $1 apiece. And here I was, gladly making a $5 investment to fixing a hangover. The meeting that night was at New York's old 24th Street clubhouse. During the intermission, the treasurer gave a timid talk on how broke the club was. That was in the period when you could mix money and AA. But finally, he said it. The landlord would put us out if we didn't pay up. He concluded his remarks by saying, "Now, boys, please go heavier on the hat tonight, will you?" I heard all this quite plainly as I was piously trying to convert a newcomer who sat next to me. The hat came in my direction, and I reached into my pocket, still working on my prospect. I fumbled and came up with a 50-cent piece. Somehow it looked like a very big coin. Hastily, I dropped it back and fished out a dime, which clinked thinly as I dropped it in the hat. Hats never got folded money in those days. Then I woke up. I, who had boasted my generosity that morning, was treating my own club worse than the distant alcoholics who had forgotten to send the foundation their dollars. I realized that my $5 gift to the Slippy was an ego feeding proposition. Bad for him and bad for me. There was a place in AA where spirituality and money would mix, and that was in the hat. There is another story about money. One night in 1948, the trustees of the foundation were having their quarterly meeting. The agenda discussion included a very important question. A certain lady had passed. When her will was read, it was discovered she had left Alcoholics Anonymous in trust with the Alcoholic Foundation of sum of $10,000. The question was, should AA take the gift? What a debate we had on that one. The foundation was really hard up just then. The groups weren't sending in enough for the support of the office. We had been tossing in all the books' income, and even that hadn't been enough. The reserve was melting like snow in springtime. We needed that $10,000. Maybe some said the groups will never fully support the office. We can't let it shut down. It's far too vital. Yes, let's take the money. Let's take all such donations in the future. We're going to need them. Then came the opposition. They pointed out that the foundation board already knew of a total of $500,000 set aside for AA in the wills of people still alive. Heaven only knew how much there was we hadn't heard about. If outside donations weren't declined, absolutely cut off, then the foundation would one day become rich. Moreover, at the slightest intimation to the general public from our trustees, and we needed money, we could become immensely rich. Compared to this prospect, the $10,000 under consideration wasn't much, but like the alcoholic's first drink, it would, if taken, inevitably set up a disastrous chain reaction. Where would that land us? Whoever pays the piper is apt to call the tune. And if the AA Foundation obtained money from outside sources, its trustees might be tempted to run things without reference to the wishes of AA as a whole. Relieved of responsibility, every alcoholic would shrug and say, "Oh, the foundation is wealthy. Why should I bother?" The pressure of that treasury would surely tempt the board to invent all kinds of schemes to do good with such funds, and so divert AA from its primary purpose. The moment that happened, our fellowship confidence would be shaken. The board would be isolated and would fall under heavy attack of criticism for both AA and public. These were the possibilities, pro and con. Then our trustees wrote a bright page in AA history. They declared for the principle that AA must always stay poor. Bare running expenses plus a prudent reserve would henceforth be the foundation financial policy. Difficult as it was, they officially declined that $10,000 and adopted a formal airtight resolution that all such future gifts would be similarly declined. At that moment, we believed the principle of corporate poverty was firmly and finally embedded in AA's tradition. When these facts were printed, was a profound reaction to people familiar with endless drives of charitable funds. AA presented a strange and refreshing spectacle. Approving editorial here and abroad generated a wave of confidence in the integrity of Alcoholics Anonymous. They pointed out that the irresponsible had become responsible and that making financial independence part of its tradition, Alcoholics Anonymous had revived an ideal that its era had almost forgotten. So it's true that AA wants to stay poor. We don't want to have outside contributions to take us from our primary purpose, and the primary purpose is sobriety. And without the steps and traditions, who knows where AA would be now. And declining outside contributions just helped us as recovering alcoholics who are, prospering, but in the same sense, not. Prospering in the way of being sober and having a better life versus having money can take us from our primary purpose of being sober. So, step 7 is a good one for what it does, and that's reminding us that money is not going to solve the alcohol problem. And to just stay poor will help us more. Just that's how it works. Because as long as we're poor and AA stays poor, declining all those outside contributions helps us to know that AA is staying true to itself. And that's why Tradition 7 was made. For those times when somebody does a donation like that, we can say, no, we can't accept that. And step 6 endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprises, lest problems from money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And all their ideas of having a hospital for Alcoholics Anonymous and trying to come up with different ideas on other ways to help us to be sober. It it is what we need and is our primary purpose. Um, Remembering that we prosper being sober with no money, we can still be happy, and having AA back us up even when we can't afford to throw in that dollar or $2 or whatever we throw in. They don't tell you that you absolutely have to put money in the hat. And, there's times that I haven't been able to put money in there, and my home group started asking for $2 because the rent went up. And, that would barely cover the rent and the electric and the coffee and all those other things. And so what my home group started doing was um, somebody would buy the candy and bring it, and yeah, they tried to pay you for it, but it's I brought candy and didn't expect to get paid for it, and that's another way of helping our group in the group way. Um, but anyways, so yeah, my sister is doing really good with staying sober through this time. That is crazy for her. It's kind of crazy for everybody. I know the guy next door is very apologetic, and it was just weird and chaotic last week. She called me and she's like, "You have to come down and see what's happening down here." And I was like, "Okay, I'm coming." And her ceiling was raining a waterfall. But it hadn't at that point made it to the bedrooms. And then a couple hours later, after the police came and went in through the guys, well, they reached, one officer went in the window, took the screen out of the window and reached through the window, and well, she was halfway in it. I reached around and unlocked the door, and they all went in. And the only reason we called the cops is because we didn't know if this person was hurt or what was going on, because he was not answering his door. And so our main thing was we wanted to make sure he's okay. And so that's why the cops were called. Um, and they got him up, and what had happened is his washing machine would not stop running water. This is the second time this has happened. Two separate people, different tenants in that unit. But yeah, so it's a mess. And my sister's lost a lot of things. Her bed, her dresser, a lot of stuff in their spare room. Their kitchen is a disaster. The living room didn't get too bad, but there's asbestos in their ceiling, and so they have to move everything out, and whatever is salvageable, they're going to put in a pod, which will be here tomorrow. Um, and then they're gonna probably stay here with me and my husband for a little bit so they can get their apartment fixed. But yeah, so they have a GoFundMe if you have a little bit or a lot that you can donate to them. The link is in the description or in the chat right now. It's also pinned in my community tab. So if you can donate to them, that would be greatly appreciated. Nothing is too small. Um, but yeah, so I think that's going to be the meeting. Tony, I pray that you have a safe trip there and back, and bring me something from St. Mary's, if you can. Anyways, I love you guys, and just know if you are struggling with alcoholism or addiction, or just want to know ways of helping a family member or a friend with those, um, I will be live again on Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for AA again. I do 2 meetings a week, and I do this one on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So this is my way of giving back to my AA, and sharing my story for free. And so I love you guys, and please make that call if you need help with either alcohol or addiction. There's help out there, and you're not alone. So far, not alone. So, anyways, I love you guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.